Oh yeah, I got you, Ellen.
For anyone, some information for anyone who's a new attendee today. The Academy Chat Series is a long-standing webinar series by and for academies of science. We often invite external speakers or highlight individual academies, but today we will be facilitating a discussion about a topic of interest to many member academies, and that is the junior academies. The discussion may span additional topics, but we hope that senior academies supporting junior academies can be the starting place for the discussion. Bridget Moran, I serve as the AJAS Program Manager for NAAS and will be the facilitator and moderator for today's discussion. Since this session will be highlighting all attendees, let's spend a little more time on our round robin introductions. Please tell us your name, where you are located, your role with the Academy, and how long/if your junior Academy has been active, and what you're hoping to get from this session. When you are done, please popcorn to someone else you see on the Zoom. So, Jennifer, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jennifer Hackney. I'm the president of the Arizona Nevada Academy of Science. We have not had a junior academy in, oh goodness, probably close to a decade at this point. So we're looking to get one started again in our region. Um, let's see, I will throw it over to Paloma.
Um, Hi, I'm Paloma Kuralik, and I am Assistant Director in Massachusetts Junior Academy of Science. Mandana Sasanfar is the director, and I've been working with her. I joined in 2023, and then slowly I got more involved. And then based on this, last year I founded or like reinstated the Puerto Rico Junior Academy of Science, which is where I'm from. And that academy stopped at least attending the AJAS conference in 2015. So I was very excited to attend with the students this year. Yeah, and I'll call out Craig Queenan, if I said it correctly.
Hi, everybody. Craig Queenan. I'm a high school educator in New Jersey. I'm not part of the NJ Academy in terms of an organizing perspective, but I do usually have a contingency of students that we take to the fair here just to listen in and discuss some ideas about how it's handled from a school-based side. So pass it off to, let's see, Ernie.
Namaste, everybody. Ernie here from the Iowa Academy of Science. I've been involved with the Iowa Academy of Science for, I don't know, 55 years, I think. And I've had many roles there. Most recently, I'm just stepped down as the NAAS treasurer, as most of you know. I'm a retired science educator, 22 years out, but I've been attending NAAS, AJAS conferences since 1999. So I've seen a lot of history, and I've seen a lot of things that have gone right and things that need to be corrected. But basically, I'm here just to support kids, and my role presently right now is I'm a mentor for science students at a small school, which 9 years ago started out to have 4 kids, and this year I had 76. So I'm doing something wrong because I think I want to go back to having just 4 kids. I'm going to roll this over to Ellen.
Thank you, Ernie. I'm delighted you popcorn to me. First of all, I think you're doing something right, and I think 76 kids is awesome. So continue and keep up the wonderful work. Although I will say, I think I actually predate you. I am with the Alabama Academy of Science. Our program for Junior Academy goes back to the 1930s, so quite a ways. And I was a student in the competition in
Wow.
1966, 7, and 8. So I may be the oldest resident participant in these years. I currently hold the role of Gorgas Chair. We have a competition for high school seniors in addition to the Junior Academy, which is 9th through 12th grade. And then we also are parent organization at the Alabama Academy of Science to the State Science Fair and the State Science Olympiad. So our Junior Academy world is very extensive. My colleague, Dr. Jack Shelley Tremblay, has been attending this, but he is about to move to another state, so we wish him well. But I took on that mantle with great joy because I really wanted to learn more about the National Academies, and I'm just so proud to get to be here. I am a past president of the Alabama Academy of Science. And just continue to enjoy, as you do, Ernie, to work with the high school students and to really chair that. I also chair the judges, which is, many of you know, is a whole component that you have to, that takes some effort. So in addition to the mentoring and the junior academy part. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'll go to Bridget.
I'm Bridget Moran. I serve as the AJAS program manager. So I help organize things for the junior academies on behalf of NAAS. I will pop corn over to Mary.
Hi, I am in Idaho, and I've been a member of our Idaho Academy for a long time, but we haven't had any kind of consistent participation in junior academies. I've had students participate. We've sent a student to nationals once in the last 5 years, but we're trying to make that a little bit more formalized. And I told my team I would be the one to step up and work with that. So that's why I'm here. And I don't know who hasn't spoken yet because I just got on. So somebody who hasn't is welcome to go next.
Dog has spoken. You might check with see if he's,
Yeah, the dog's here. I'm Karen Conselman. I'm the treasurer for the Arizona Nevada Academy of Science. So I have sent checks to Ernie before. I been with the academy for, I don't know, 35 years. So I'm another one of the old school. I know back when we did have a junior academy, it turned into basically a science fair for one high school. And so it kind of devolved from having a lot of students participating to just one group of students. And we're like, well, why don't you just do it at your high school? We have had more active participation of high school students in our annual meeting, presenting posters and so forth. And it was actually students who kind of stirred up interest in going to nationals. And what was our process to send a junior academy student, and we didn't really have one. So that's part of why we're kind of investigating. We did, because our participation in junior academy was so low, we kind of shifted our focus with high school students for many years to be the sponsor and host for the high school, which is Division C of the Science Olympiad for Arizona for quite a few years. And then they wanted to group the B and C divisions, the junior high and high school together. We didn't have the capacity to do that. So we passed it off to another group that was anxious to do that. And so now our main involvement is high school students who are on our university campuses, college campuses, doing research, some presenting at our annual meeting, but not having a national presence and not having a very active and specific junior academy. So again, collecting information, ideas, and trying to see how. One of the things I think we struggle with too is, as an organization, is how big our area is geographically. And so most of our participants, because the members of the board tend to be from the Phoenix area, we're supposed to be Nevada too, but we have almost no members in Nevada. We mostly, if we get participants from Nevada, it's Las Vegas, not Reno and the northern part of the state, and even the various parts of Arizona. So that's a struggle for us just in terms of the academy, and then that would extend into the junior academy as well. Okay, I've said enough, and I don't know if I'll let whoever I've been paying attention, but I have not paid attention to who may not have spoken. So is it Vinay? Have you spoken?
Hi. My name is Vinay Raj. I'm the president of the Arkansas Academy of Science. And we don't have an active junior academy. So that is what I am focused on reviving and probably making it more active once my term is ending pretty soon. But that is one role I might actively be involved in the future. So that's why I'm here to learn more and get some ideas from you all. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Philip Winchell. I may be the last one here. I am the archivist of the National Association of Academies of Science, and I also work with planning the annual AJAS annual conference that we just completed here in Phoenix. I'm also a member of the Ohio Academy of Science. I am not on the board or have any official position within the Academy, the Ohio Academy. The Ohio Academy does have a junior academy, and it is very active here in Ohio. We participate in the AJAS. We participate in a very large state science day, which is a kind of science fair here in Ohio that brings in literally thousands of students. The Ohio Academy of Science and the Junior Academy in Ohio also participate in the International Science and Engineering Fair, and the International Science and Engineering Fair, and for the life of me, I can't think of the National Youth Science Camp in West Virginia. So Ohio is very active in the junior academy area.
And Hallie, were you able to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I could do a quick intro. Hallie Thompson, I'm the outreach director for NAAS, and yeah, I'm here just to assist as needed, help guide y'all through this conversation and support the Academy chats. I, for the most part, organize the Academy chat, but Bridget is taking this one along as the AJS program director, and so I'm excited to sit back and learn from you all. And if you need anything, send me a chat. Happy to be sort of tech support, informational support, whatever you need today.
Thanks, Hallie, and thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. I'm going to do a quick poll. Raise your hands if this applies to you. Can you please raise your hand if your academy has been active for over 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
Your junior academy specifically. Okay, great. Thank you. Lower your hands. Please raise your hand if your academy has been active less than 10 years, but over 1 year. Okay, and please raise your hand if your junior academy is just starting up. Okay, yeah. And raise your hand if you are aspirational that your academy will be having a junior academy soon. Excellent, thank you so much. So now we're going to start the conversation, and I'm going to ask some questions just to get the conversation going. But the intention of this session is to share information, knowledge, questions, or experiences amongst the attendees here. So feel free to chime in if you have any thoughts or questions we are discussing. You are welcome to put them in the chat or just unmute yourself and give your comments and questions as you think of them. So first and foremost, how well does your junior academy represent your state? And what are challenges in improving representation and engagement for your junior academy? Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I'm in. So first of all, I'm delighted to be here. It's my first time. I have to confess, I was not as aware of your organization or our organization as I should have been. We go back, as most of you have heard, from the old Westinghouse to the Intel to the Regeneron to the whatever, which is where some of our Gorgas, the one I do, came from, bolstered over the years by a Birmingham business community or an Alabama business community that really put some monies behind it. So we actually have an endowed scholarship program that we're quite proud of. The Junior Academy, as I said, dated back to the 30s, but has really been nurtured by a series of really incredible teachers. And I think most of y'all would agree that it takes a teacher. And once we get the teacher on board, they'll stick with us forever, seemingly, and they'll send students year after year. And so I think that's the magic, is finding that teacher. I know 2 or 3 of people said that was their history. And again, my tip of my hat to you, because you really are where it's at, where it happens. And so we've tried mentoring programs, we've tried others. Fortunately, ours do come from across the state. I think 2 things that we do that are very positive. One is that we've had an actual director, and under the old, unfortunately, JSHS system, we got some grant monies that helped to give that person a little stipend. But that person really was the glue. And so that person did recruit broadly from across the state. That person in that director role for the Junior Academy made sure that teachers were supported, that we had delegates, we had officers, state officers from the high schools. All of that kind of infrastructure has made a difference. The loss of JSHS is, of course, a devastating thing to us. We have one other piece that I think really helps is that we have a state Alabama Academy of Science meeting, and that's when our Junior Academy met. So that I had actually adequate judges, because it'd be the day after the Senior Academy meeting. People saw it as a pipeline to undergraduate research, which was into research internships and things like that. So I think that's been a big boon. And most recently, we've gone to have virtual opportunities developed by some of our universities. And so we are actually hosting a multi-state regional Junior Academy type competition. I don't know if we'll have any monies to give them, but we will have a competition with judges, et cetera. And that's slated currently for April 25th. We've got, I think, 10 states that have agreed to join us. So we're quite excited about that. That was my big news I got to report. So I think being active breeds activity, and all of you know that it's hard to get the ball rolling, but once you get it rolling, you really don't want to stop it if at all possible. Mm-hmm. Thank you all. Let me ask on this call, did anybody on this call get an email from our director, Dr. Mark Jones, about participating in the virtual regional competition? If you're interested in that, we have not closed that option right now. What we're looking at is asking states that want to participate to send us up to 5 kids who either did well at their state level or are obviously interested in science, have got a project, et cetera, a paper to present. It'll be an oral paper session. They'll actually do their paper according to the 12-minute, JSHS formula. And we are, I also have asked states to bring at least 2 judges, 2 to 3 judges apiece. And as the chair of judges, I'll be organizing judges for this event. We have other people on our team who have developed the platform, who are working on the program. We're also working on a long-range planning vision, sponsorships that we can use to bring in independent monies since the loss of the federal monies. So that's been a huge emphasis for us since we learned about the changes last fall. So we've put a huge amount of work into this. Mm-hmm. So I'll put my email in the chat. If you want to send me information, I'll forward it to Dr. Jones. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ellen. Yeah, and feel free to to put a link in the chat too if you want people to access some more information on that. But thanks for sharing that opportunity. Does anybody else have any thoughts about how well your Junior Academy represents your state? And if you've had any challenges in improving that representation and engagement?
I mean, I'll hop in and say, I mean, as Karen indicated, ours don't represent our state at all. It's just whatever high school students happen to come to our annual meeting for the Senior Academy. Those are the ones that we were able to send as delegates this year to AJAS. But we have our real challenges with how to expand our reach to not even to Nevada, but even across Arizona, where most of our board members are located. We don't have a high success rate of reaching out to those folks. So I'm actually really excited to hear about the virtual meeting and how that can be utilized to bring additional folks in. But right now, yeah, that's one of our biggest challenges, is just the sheer area of that our academy needs to cover.
And Mary, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Idaho didn't even have science fairs. We weren't participating in ISEF or anything really. In fact, I took students when I was still teaching high school to our annual meeting, just the state meeting, to present, just to have an option for them to present. We had no real venues. Everything we did had to go out of state. We had to go to Montana or Utah or somewhere. And so in I can't remember, 16 or 17, we finally started getting fairs going. And that was one of the main things that we did with that. I don't know where it's gone since then. I was involved very heavily for the first 6 or 7 years. And at that time, we had 3 fairs strategically located so that students could get to them around the state. And our current Idaho Academy also was trying to draw from that. We gave awards at those fairs, and we were starting to build our junior academy, and then that whole system has changed. So I would say the biggest thing that we did that helped and that we would still try to utilize would be the idea that hitting each region of the state separately. I don't know if you guys know much about Idaho, but it's a big, long, skinny thing that looks kind of like a boot or something. But the issue is that you can't go, there are only a very few roads. You can't go in straight lines to get to places. You have to go way down and around or up and over, and it's always mountain ranges. I was participating in all of those fairs, and one of the fairs, well, I can just say the closest fair to me was 2 hours. These are all in good weather. The furthest fair was about 9 hours. And the 9-hour fair took 13 hours to get to if the weather was bad. It did at least 1 year in it, So you plan a whole day of travel ahead of time. You spend a day there for the fair. You spend another full day. And those were for our science fairs. So the same issue applies to kids. We just had to really focus on how could we make these. So only a few of us had to travel that 11-hour trip. We made sure that it was within 3 hours of any student. And that was our big thing. And the fact that in Idaho, there still is not really, except in a few very specific areas, like the Treasure Valley, which is the Boise, and over into some of the Pocatello, Idaho Falls, but there really isn't a culture of STEM or STEM competition in Idaho. So that is still something that's a work in progress. And I think more than anything, demonstrating that to both teachers and students, the value of JSHS or ISEF or any of these is a huge piece. Somebody said it earlier, once you get the teachers on board, to help get the teachers on board, you have to demonstrate to them that their students are going to benefit. And we did that by taking teachers with us to things like ISEF. So that would be my only other suggestion, is if you can do that and take a teacher along, bring the teachers to your academy, your regional academy meetings. I mean, I was a teacher when I first got involved with the Idaho academies, and they hooked me into the whole system because they needed some teacher representation, and I'm still here. So get your teachers going and you'll get your students going.
Thank you, Mary. Paloma, I see you have your hand up too.
Hello. Okay. For me, so I'm pretty new in all of this because I just came into the field in 2023. It was the first time that I was a judge and chair for the Massachusetts Junior Academy of Science Symposium, which is the way we select who's going to be the delegates. But the students that are invited are the ones that participated on the MSEF, which is the State Science Fair. For there, what I learned is that only some schools encourage their students to participate them and help them enroll. So the disparity, it's definitely, I think there is STEM awareness in Massachusetts because of Harvard and MIT, but the disparity is really socioeconomic. So whether that school from that district will encourage their students to participate in MSEF, and because we partner with MSEF to do the Mass Jazz, then that's the students that we get. We have some students do come to MIT for other types of fairs and projects, and we have admitted students that have independent projects that are very rigorous. We have also sent an invitation to them as well, so we don't want to limit ourselves to MSEF. But I think this meeting has posed for me the question of like, how am I going to expand to reach those lower income households that can also have very competitive science projects. And then for Puerto Rico, it's a very different dynamic. There is definitely a big disparity in socioeconomic status, but Puerto Rico is very small and there are only a few STEM organizations, and they're very, they're all over the news all the time. So people, I feel, are very motivated. Now, whether they have the support to do a project, that's a different thing. But there are 3 types of science fairs. There's like the private schools ones, the public schools one, and then there's one that's actually independent. And a lot of the students overlap in this third one. And then what I did to launch PR Jazz was to partner with these organizations that already, partner with these organizations that already have like the pool of students. And then we do a virtual symposium. So we don't have to deal with infrastructure. Virtual symposium has other challenges, but it's nice that everyone can like actually attend as long as they have internet. And it also opens the lamp for a lot of different judges. So I can get Puerto Rican judges from all over the United States to be part of the PR Jazz Symposium. And that has been really fun. And then they mentor the students. So it's actually created like a little community without me even planning that. So that was really fun. But so Puerto Rico is like a different landscape, and partnering with organizations has been pretty successful. I'm sure I'll need to survey and see what's the reach, what schools are we getting. And there's like 1,700 schools in Puerto Rico. I'm sure we're touching like 70 schools, like definitely no more than 100 schools. So it's kind of been my experience. And this has been very insightful listening to all of you.
I love it. The Puerto Rican diaspora. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah,
could I do that for the Alabama diaspora? All those who have left the state and get them to come, and this has potential. I like this. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. The virtual symposium has come with its benefits. I'm not gonna lie. I was nervous, but yeah.
I like the virtual possibility in terms of increasing access, and I can fully concur with the importance of from my experience with the Science Olympiad, that if you had a teacher that was the spark plug, then the school would come. Once that teacher retired or got tired of doing it, then the program usually died off. And also participation, the socioeconomic aspect of things, and access to university mentors and stuff in the more quote unquote rural schools, and then getting to the competition was challenging cost wise. They got to bus in for a day and bus out for a day and have a hotel for 20 kids and stuff like that. So so I like the virtual idea from that perspective, but I wonder about the kind of if anyone's got, I don't know, sessions that are networking sessions or something like that that's a little less formal for students to interact with people maybe they haven't interacted with before. Anyway, kind of a chat room kind of thing as built into part of their virtual events at all.
So you're asking me as a follow-up question? Or like just anyone overall?
Just anyone. I mean, anyone who's held a virtual event. I mean, I'm not talking about, hooking up from a perspective of having a date or something, but from the perspective of being able to interact with, scientists, with other students who are more advanced than they are in their progression, in their trajectory, professionally, that kind of thing, so that they get some mentorship. That's a challenge for an in-person conference. And we're trying to find sessions and ways to do that. But anyway, I just wondered if anyone was thinking about that aspect of things, or whether it was focused on presentations and judging. So
just want to mention, so Ciencia Puerto Rico, which translates to Science PR, it's an organization it's more than 20 years now. And they actually hold virtual presentations every 2 weeks where a scientist gives a talk. And I'm not sure how well attended they are. I think it kind of depends on the scientist, but it is towards high schoolers, and it is open source, and then they have it available, but it is an opportunity where students can like do a Q&A with the scientist at the end. I think that's what's particularly special about it. They also do in person. That's challenging because of infrastructure, similar to Idaho. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. The good thing is that that's consistent. I don't know how to measure impact, or how does that, how would you measure how that's impacting the community? I'm sure students love it, but it is something that happens steadily.
Can you share a link or the source of the organization in the chat? So
yeah, I'll share the organization, and I'll share and the director of the organization actually gave a talk in one of the academy chats as well, and so that's I'll link that as well. So I'll send those 3 links and I show you. But it's really, people are eager to talk about their science, so they are constantly they're booked out 6-7 months.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask a little bit more about what this organization currently offers. We were hoping to send our state winners to the national, but it was in February and we didn't even have our event until the end of February. It's our state event, what used to be called the regionals, but it was, the language is sort of different. We would call it our state level. Now Jack Shelley Tremblay that came from me. So there was some stuff, but I don't know what. Tell me more.
Yeah, perhaps I can help with that, since I do. This is Philip Winchell. Since I do a lot of planning with the American Junior Academy of Science, you are not alone in having your selection after the date of the conference. And what a number of states do is just then nominate them for the next year. And so the AJS is always mid-February. Next year it's going to be in Chicago, Illinois, February 2027. And if Alabama is a dues-paying member of the NAAS, then any students that you nominate to go to AJAS are automatically accepted by us. That is the prerogative of the state academy, to send their choice of students to AJAS.
Question,
You
Philip,
can send 1, you can send 10.
Would they have, if we're sending them for the next year, a lot of our students who are doing senior projects would now be in the university the next year. They would be ineligible to attend.
No. We have, every year we've got college students, a few.
Okay.
The typical AJS student is a sophomore or junior. We get some seniors, but every year there are a few college students who won the opportunity to attend AJS in their senior year of high school. And that's perfectly fine.
Oh, that's great to know. Thank you.
National give any awards or scholarships? How is that structured?
The National does. We have a needs-based scholarship. The last 2 years, it has been on the average of about $15,000 spread among around a dozen or so students. Those are very round numbers, but again, those are a characteristic of the American Junior Academy of Science, is that all students, when they arrive at AJAS, are considered to be equal. And so it doesn't make sense to give merit-based scholarships to students who are all assumed to be equal. What we do is, again, have needs-based scholarships. And those scholarships toward Rachel, about when are we going to start them in 2026 for 2027?
I have to double check on the funds that we have, but
Yeah.
it would normally be starting around the summer.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we get requests in for the scholarships. We form a committee, evaluate each request individually, and then allocate the money. The money can, in past years, we've either just given out checks or we have waived fees.
Ernie, I saw that you went off mute earlier. Was there something you wanted to say in response to Ellen?
But Philip covered it.
Okay. Great. We also have a partnership with Sigma Xi, so any students who are official AJAS delegates get a discounted membership with Sigma Xi. And they just get to make really nice professional connections and opportunities to talk one-on-one with scientists in the field through events like our Breakfast with Scientists. And they also get to present their research in front of experienced scientists who are attending AAAS, because we run our meeting in tandem with AAAS. So it's a lot of great networking for these students. Mary, I see your hand raised as well.
And I just wanted to piggyback on that. Virtual is great, and it does provide generally more opportunities for a wider variety of students to potentially participate. Again, as I said, Idaho has major geographic obstacles, and I've been in Montana, Nevada, basically the Western United States. So it's all over here. And we do have rural kids who don't even have internet. If they were going to participate virtually, they'd travel to do that. That said, the number one, well, maybe the two things that my students have brought back from participating, because I had students going from Montana, Nevada, everywhere. The big thing that my students have brought back from participating at the National Academy is the interaction with the other students. So one time that they don't feel like the only nerd in the room.
Exactly.
And the other one is the other big thing. Some of you have been asking about the difference between the virtual and the in-person. And the other thing that they really, really appreciated was the chance to interact with professionals. Our fairs, at a lot of the regional science fairs or even at the regional academy, you try to have that, but there may not be someone with the expertise in the field that your student is specifically working in. And if they go to nationals, there's a really good chance that they're going to get somebody who actually speaks the same language that they do at a level that makes them really be able to say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. So that's just my contribution, is that in-person piece at that level for a high school student. And particularly for those, some of my students had never stepped foot on a campus, anywhere, anytime, until I took them to a competition of some sort. So keep that in mind. You're giving them an opportunity that some students experience all the time. And if you're in a place that is less remote, this may not really resonate with you. But it's a huge thing for kids who don't have that kind of access.
And Marie, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I'm going to sound like a broken record on this thing, but Marie, something that you said really, really resonates. At a science fair, understand that there is a power imbalance in that room. And at the AJAS is not a competition. There are no tests, there are no scores, there are no grades. Everybody arrives equal, everybody leaves as equal. And so the AJAS students are also fully a part not only of the AJAS conference, but of the AAAS conference. Their badges, all the high school students' badges, all look the same as the professional AAAS attendees' badges. And so a lot of what we're doing with AJAS is we are trying to break down that power imbalance that you get at science fairs. At AJAS, everybody's equal.
And by the way, it's just Mary. It looks funny, but it's just Mary.
Okay, Mary.
And I would echo that and say that the students appreciate being able to present in a venue that's not competitive and just get feedback.
I see some raised hands. Vinay, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm just curious about the the students who and the schools from which they come from, are these students mostly from, like, for example, magnet schools or specialized schools? Because I'm just wondering in terms of like where does the motivation come from? Because even at the university level, I find it hard to get my students motivated to just do an assignment, right? And so that's one thing. That's one of my questions. So, and the other question I have is there like a model which any of you have tried, like for, or is it there? I don't know. Like for example, at the senior level, if when we invite people for conferences and all that, we give them like continuing medical education credits and all that. So like that, if the students come to some of these meetings and attend, do they get some kind of a credit at schools for their work?
Not a credit. They get a fellowship from the American Junior Academy of Science. And in answer to your first question, students come from every type of school that there is out there. We have students from small sports-centered high schools. We've got students who come from large magnet schools, private schools. When it comes to the type of student that's coming to AJAS, there's just every example out there.
I was just curious about the motivation aspect, so that's why.
Including homeschool, I would add.
Yes,
we
do have
active
homeschoolers.
involvement of homeschoolers because they have a little more time and they have a little bit more individual focus. So we've been pleased with them. I agree with everything that's being said. Thank you. I'll try to respond to Vinay in a minute. Let me see.
I would just say real quickly, Vinay, that if you were really looking at what will get your students going, if you are a teacher in the classroom, give them space in that classroom and during classes to pursue that. You can build it in, and I have done it multiple different ways over the years. You can build it in as something they do after school, where it's an activity, but they get recognized for it. You can build it into your actual classroom activities. And I know, believe me, I know about standardized tests and all of that and what you have to budget for. But if you have any flex at all, flex this as an alternative, and you'll find that your students will surprise you with some of the ideas they come up with. And the same thing if you're not a teacher, but you're supporting teachers, give them that extra additional help to get that set up. The other thing that I did as a teacher was to approach my school board, and I've done this in multiple venues, and say, you have students at your school who want to participate in these venues. They need funding to travel. These are regional, national, and international competitions or opportunities, depending on what it was. You fund all of these other activities at travel expenses. Fund my kids at their travel expenses. That's all I asked for. And you'd be surprised, especially if you take a couple of your most articulate and energetic students with you, that you may get board support to help. And you may change the status, the perceived status of what your students are doing, because that also got us on the calendars so that we weren't constantly being, having that prom suddenly be rescheduled to be the same day as I was supposed to be taking, or the track coach saying, well, they can't miss one practice, not event, one practice, or they're out for the week. If you have that board backing and administrative backing, you're more likely to be able to have some of these things for your students be more seamless. It doesn't happen easily, but it is something you could consider. That's just some suggestions.
Thank you.
I will add that participation in the AJAS, I mean, that is an elite national level of participation. And it would be the equivalent of your sports team competing at a national level. Yeah. And that's what you've kind of got to get across to administrators and school boards, is that this is national and international recognition, not only for your students, but for your school and your district.
there on to expand on that, is there a list of AJAS fellows where you can show like all of these scientists that are in all of these institutions are AJAS fellows, and that will further contribute to the argument that this is a prestigious fellowship?
Wouldn't that be nice to have? Um,
Well, there
um,
was. We did have a list of all the
Yeah.
regional state, which is the state level science participants in JSHS, and I think that list, it's a STIRV or list group, is still available and functional. But again, obviously, no monies are flowing. That's okay too. The things I would add to what was just said, and I concur with everything, is when you do these outside activities, whether they're after school, think about your science club. I have been amazed at how many schools no longer have science clubs or club hour once a month. And so if you can develop a concept of a science club, that's a plus. If you can bring in your librarian, because most states now have a virtual library. We have an Alabama virtual library where they can access resources online, a study hall, anything like that. In Alabama, there was a state supplement for athletics at some point for teachers involved in coaching, but there wasn't one for science. We tried desperately to no avail to get that supplement allowed to be dedicated to a science teacher who was coaching a team, be it Science Olympiad or science paper reading or something. So if anybody has a way to get the state to do that, that would be huge. A $500 stipend for a teacher would be huge. That would be great. And I would love to see more of this, these discussions. This is great. I have one more question. We have one school that brings a bus, but everybody else drives independently. And teachers have told me that they're not allowed to drive students to the local competition, the state competition. That we've got to figure out a way whether we could absorb a national liability policy or something that would allow teachers to bring a school bus, pay the driver or whatever it takes, but get rid of this liability barrier. I would love to see that happen. And I'm wondering if anybody has ever done the 4 kids in a hotel room, two and two in a bed. I date that far back, but you can put 4 people in a $200 room a lot cheaper than one.
I think it might be a good time for me to jump in as an educator in the classroom. Just thinking about taking groups of students and being involved over the past 6 years now with the program. 4 in a room doesn't work anymore. From a school perspective, it's an absolute no-go, and it's frustrating. But to me, there are a number of pieces. I think this is an amazing program, and the experience that the kids get out of it at AJS is great for what it is. But I'll say that it is really hard to justify in my district sending the kids to this because there is nothing attached, nothing tangible they're taking away that can be held up, shown, and touted, to the local news, and I don't think that's a problem, but it's something that every year I need to fight to justify why it's so important to get our kids to this conference. I think the benefit of experiences like presenting on the expo floor have been a great addition and something that is now better than the conference was 5 years ago for having it. I think the Breakfast with Scientists is a great experience. But I have really, fears for my own program because I think it was one of the first comments that Ellen made. A lot of these programs are built on the hard work and drive of the teachers behind them. And we've had upwards of about 20 kids each of the past years traveling with us. And, my school has 280 kids and about 150 are actively doing research every year with myself and one other teacher. But I have serious concerns that if I made a move or I made a change, I don't know that they're replacing and keeping that program running the same way. So when we talk about all these things, they're great, but it is a few people locally that are driving large amounts of kids. And it's how much more can they really do and extend and add to their plate when it's, I'm doing the research, but I'm also a class advisor and I have twin boys who are 10 and entering middle school and I coach it. There are so many things we'd love to do, but there are not enough people. And I see that in our local academy. There is a constant need and drive to find judges to even get our local fairs off the ground and running. And as a result of that, I feel like one of the biggest issues that we see in New Jersey from the fair side, and sometimes, at the academy level, is the organization and the communication. For families especially, if kids are not walking away with a $50,000 check for attending and being at this thing, if the communication isn't clear and if the interactions, the program isn't, top notch, something the kids are coming home raving about, it becomes really hard. And so that's the piece for me that's always, I try to weigh conference by conference. I find, the DC and Boston conference, I think because of location, because of access to resources, it was a little bit of a higher quality program for the kids and their interactions. And I think sometimes some of the more secondary cities that AAAS is at struggles to find as many engaging pieces for the students to interact within those breakfasts for scientists and things like that. So, that uniformity of expectations of the program sometimes can be difficult when kids in Boston are raving about, getting a private tour of Boston Dynamics because they met this person. And then we're not seeing, that same drive coming out of kids maybe from this previous conference. So I don't know what to make of all that. There's a lot as an educator in the classroom. I think the big things are justification, trying to make it not just another resume piece for a kid, but because research is such a big curricular piece of our program, having it be an end cap to this process of how to ask a question, how to get the data, and then how to communicate that meaningfully. So,
hey, Craig, Philip Winchell here. Let me lower my hand. There you go. Craig, you've been doing a number of these, probably as many as I have. What would be a takeaway that would be possible for us to do and appropriate for students? Other than a fellowship certificate and the experience of having displayed and published their work at AAAS.
I think a lot comes to visibility. Is there a social media presence that's highlighting student achievements post-conference where we've done little sit-down interviews and we could highlight them throughout the year? Is there a video montage of a week in the life of a student that showcases what the experience was that could be promoted out? And from our partnership levels, is there anything that NAAS and AAAS can do to promote? Because, the one thing about ISEF and STS, they have name brand recognition behind it. Everyone knows ISEF. No one knows AJS. And so we have to explain that and justify what is so important about attending it. But it's not a household name and it's not something that is recognized. So, I'm always looking at how to get the information out there, how to put that out. And if we're getting kids to sign media releases and do these things prior, we should have a camera up and be finding ways to throughout the week and just grow that presence, and then have the teachers and the local fairs put it out on their local and just kind of hit that information throughout the year, and build that suspense and anticipation for it.
The media emphasis, can we get I need a photo release or a video release, and I also think that might be something we could deal with a media consultant at this level. If we could get media consultants that would help us get all the stuff going, because it takes time and energy. But if it came from the national, that might be a boon.
I think it would really help too to showcase who the kids are meeting. There are some big name folks there that would be recognized almost, and even in Idaho, where, by the way, most of my teachers, there are a lot of people in Idaho who still don't know what ISEF is because it's only been in the state for less than 10 years. So it isn't common everywhere, but I think if we really could put it out there that way. And I think there really needs to be a focus on the fact that while this is not competitive at the venue, it is competitive to achieve the venue. And so those students who want, not so much for the resume as just for the experience. If you're thinking of even remotely going into STEM post-secondary, this is something that will help you be better prepared for that. Because, and to be honest, there are connections made at ISEF and at JSHS. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one as well, but there's a different kind of connection at AJAS because it's not competitive. There's just not that same pressure. And so the students are meeting professors and chatting with them, and it's a much more, I think it's a much more, someone said equitable dynamic.
Yeah, that's what, as an AJAS planner, that's what we strive for, to break down that power imbalance. I also take kids to ISEF every year, and the ISEF and AJAS cannot be any more different in their approaches.
One other thing, and I'd like to hear from Philip, have you done anything to bring in just a delegation, or somebody mentioned bringing a teacher along with you to get them connected?
Well, again, that's up. Who comes to an AJAS is completely determined by the state academy. Anybody the state sends is welcome to attend. And so if the state wants to send one student, one parent, and one teacher, then they're enthusiastically welcome to AJAS. If the state wants to send 20 students, they are, and a variety of parents and teachers, that's also welcomed by AJAS. AJAS, we're kind of just the national planners. But who actually attends is decided on by the individual dues-paying members of member academies. We can neither accept a student or reject a student that a state sends.
Paloma, I didn't want to jump. I see your hand up there, but just one piece and one takeaway that might be helpful, that I know I mentioned at our breakfast with chaperones, but something I've done the past 2 years to try to instill this, the benefits of the program with the kids, is I've taken all of my students that are attending and I've made them business cards, their project title, their specialization, because my goal is I want you to come back without these. I want you at scientific sessions, and I want you trying to network and find people who can help you advance your research goals. And I think coming from an academy level, if something like that was possible, in place of, maybe money spent on things like a hat or something like that, something that's tangible that they can then use at that conference to exchange that information with professionals. I think that's another piece that, they show up, wow, I have a business card, look, take it home, like look at how professional this is. Those are little tweaks that I think kind of make the students stand out and feel a little bit more as part of the crew. So
Greg, what do you put on those business cards?
This year I did name, and I gave them a choice of options. I said, phone if you're comfortable, email if you're comfortable. If you have a social media, if you have a LinkedIn, if you are doing engineering and you have a GitHub link or a website you've created for something you're working on, I kind of gave them a little flexibility in fields, and then I populated it. So, each student is tailored to their area of research and, the ways they would want to be contacted in that. So
do you need to get parental permission for those, for students, for minor students?
I did, make sure and email the families, this is something we're doing. if you're comfortable. And everyone was like, yes, please. Can we have more?
Okay.
I just raised my hand because I really loved all the social media advice that Craig mentioned, and I think that's something that's going to be very successful. And if there is actually a social media consultant, just wanted to add that the consultant doesn't need to even make the post, because students have all of this tool to make posts and they're very motivated to do the posts themselves. And then the consultant can be more of a volunteer management and can just like upload the post on the website, and it can be very successful in drawing students. So this year I did do a website for Massachusetts Junior Academy of Science, and then that legitimized the company. And I also highlighted like every student that did it. I'm really doing that so I can get funding for the next cycle. But social media is like a really useful way to draw attention, and the students themselves are excited to do it. So just wanted to add that. And I had a second thing, but I actually just forgot. But yeah, that if the other thing they told me is that what they enjoyed just so much was meeting other AJAS fellows. So maybe we can do more like AJAS fellow relationships, whether virtual or in person. But I'm already thinking like, I could probably, MassJS has been active since 2003. I can probably do like a reunion of fellows, and then they can, it's another career network, especially in this like job market that people are like constantly trying to meet other people for career opportunities. And then they can meet each other and do some sort of program there, because we have a huge network of resources, and it's the vast amount of AJAS fellows that are a part of this and are motivated and went to the conference and they're invested in this organization. We just need to like nudge.
Yeah. Paloma, what social media site would you suggest?
Instagram for students.
Instagram?
Yes,
What about LinkedIn?
As well, but LinkedIn won't. Yes, LinkedIn is for the professional, and it's more legitimate for the students. But if you want to expand, is Instagram. If you want to help people get jobs, it's LinkedIn. Like, I don't know how to phrase it, but the high schoolers are in Instagram, and they have this. If the NAIS invest in Canva, even if just paying for one account, then the students themselves can go in and create posts and put them on LinkedIn. There are actual services where you pay something very low, like $10 a month, and you can schedule posts, and it'll post it in all of the accounts. LinkedIn, Instagram, like automatically. Facebook, you just have to take the time to link them. But it's a good way to ease the workload.
Because Paloma, at the NAIS board level, there's been talk of an AJAS LinkedIn presence, and you've got to be over 16. But if not, then the parents could have the LinkedIn site for the students.
Have any of you ever tried a parent group? Group? And the other question I have is, anybody done partnerships with groups like the Women Engineers or some of these other scientific network groups? No answer. Aha.
Well, I guess I already mentioned this, but the only reason I was actually able to do PRJAS was because of the scientific organizations already had the student contacts, and that allowed me to establish PRJAS through them. But I would be interested in doing more collaborations. I also am an exhibitor in like their things, so that's like another way that I'm exposing. But I'm looking for ideas for more meaningful collaborations where we're actually like doing science on the ground or things like that. But
Greg, you came on like you might have an answer to that. No? Okay. What a great list of opportunities. One that I don't think anybody mentioned, but have y'all had any success getting IB students to submit their what's it called, their something essay, extended essay? Because that's another ready-made paper that could be put forth for competitions or showcases.
I don't know what that is. I'm not familiar.
International baccalaureate schools, increasing numbers even at the elementary levels. So by the time they get to middle school and high school, they've typically writing a pretty substantial paper if that paper is in a scientific field. Now the difference is most of our science fair and paper reading are actual experimentations. They've actually gone out and done a project as opposed to just written a literature paper. So you have to get them to move to that level. It can't just be a review. Right. So to be a project or a paper in our world, I think.
And certainly a requirement to display your poster at AJAS on the AAAS exhibition hall floor is that has to be high level original research.
Yeah. I'd like to hear from the organizers. Philip, I know you are one, but the other two that are, have you heard anything today that resonates with you in terms of things that would be potential at the national level?
Oh, absolutely. I think
absolutely. The business cards come to mind first. I like that.
In summary, a lot of things that Craig said, I think he gave me some really good actionable items for next year. So I really appreciate that. And I also just getting to know the academies more and what's needed at your state also helps us as the organizers form things in more creative ways that could actually like help you all more. So
do you have a very large meeting? Is there enough people coming to your meeting to do two? Could you do a fall and a spring?
Well,
a typical, I can give you the number. I mean, a typical AJAS meeting averages about 150 or a few more students. Okay. With each student, of course, has to have an appointed chaperone. That can be a parent or a teacher or an adult. Now, one adult can chaperone more than one student. But if a minor student comes to AJAS, they must have an appointed chaperone. AJAS does not provide chaperones.
And so, JSHS did that too. You had to have a chaperone in your delegation. Yeah.
Well, anything's possible if you've got enough money. A spring and a fall. Obviously, one thing that makes the AJAS so special is that we are always connected closely with the AAAS. Okay. And registration for AJAS automatically gets you registration for the AAAS annual conference. And we work together continually with the AAAS meeting people. To facilitate our students getting into AAAS events. So where AJAS is and when AJAS is strictly determined by the AAAS meeting office.
Well, and then what you might do, especially after we try this multi-state regional in April, is look at doing a virtual in the fall to capture those, especially those graduating seniors and people that are, finishing up our state competitions in April and May, and really would be ripe for, or even you could do it in June, July, where they got we're still on waiting lists for colleges or looking at colleges. One other tidbit I heard early on is how extensive is your network? One thing is that we move ours around every year to a different college in the state. I don't know if Mary does that or not to get up over those mountains in Idaho, but that has allowed the university to host it and bring in, oh, look at our gorgeous university or our hospitable university. And so, again, we've even got a list, we call it additional scholarships, where universities across our state will offer additional tuition-based scholarships to finalists and winners in different competitions. So, those kinds of incentives are huge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now,
I like where your head's at, Ellen. I like that a lot. We do primarily partner with AAAS, like Phil said, but if we're thinking in a growth mindset, I think that considering two meetings is a pretty solid question. And I'm going to be honest, you're not the first person to ask me about that.
Nope.
So I really appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you.
Yeah. We do the AAAS planning committee. It takes about 2,000 hours to plan an AJAS spread around all the volunteers and the administrators, but it takes an enormous amount of effort to plan an AJAS annual conference. Would it be better to extend the existing conference a day or two and do more things, or rather than to have a spring and a fall conference?
What you get into there is schoolwork and
sure.
other things. So, I think ours is,
if it was a sports competition, it wouldn't matter.
Nobody would care. But a 2-day meeting is about all we can handle at the state level. And I think, again, every time you add a hotel night, you have, extremely added to the cost, so.
And
and
let me just say, the
Yeah.
planning committee, please rest assured, the planning committee does elaborate amount of work to keep costs down.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it at that.
I compare the hotel prices and the difference with the code and without the code. I was so impressed with and grateful that you were able to get such a cheap
Yeah,
hotel.
an enormous amount of work and thought goes into keeping that price to attend AJS down, because again, we have students from Title I schools coming. We have students from elite private schools coming.
And the other thing is, this is not covered by anybody's employee travel funds. I don't know of anybody that's getting their way paid for these things. So, even the judges and the other folks, they've pretty much decided they want to support this themselves. So, in-state, again, I sympathize with Murray's going up and down the mountains, but, a 3 to 4 or 5 hour trip, if you go from the north of the state to the south or vice versa, that's doable still. You can still drive it. You're not having to get on a plane, and there's some real benefits to that. So, most of our states have that luxury, even if it's over a mountain, I'm thinking. So, within limits. What a great discussion. So I heard from Bridget. Did I hear from Thompson? I lost the name. I don't see her.
Hallie, she had to log off, so she's not here anymore. She does a lot of organizational reach outs for that, so I'm the AJAS contact, but you're more than welcome to reach out to us at an email I'll be sharing in the chat at the end of this if you want to talk to any of the admin people.
Well, we'll tell you after April 25th how our experiment went.
Yes.
Well, and then you get them signed up for Chicago in February 2027. That's
looking forward to it.
There are 47 state and regional academies of science in the United States, and there are exactly 47 different ways that those state and regional academies operate. No two academies are the same. No two academies select students the same way. No two academies pay for students the same way. Every model that you can imagine is being used out there somewhere. From pay everything to pay nothing, to send one student to send 20 or 30 students. There is no typical state academy. There is no typical junior academy. There is no
So
typical
Bridget says
funding
they have
model.
you see, you've got a foundation. She put a foundation name in there. That's great.
Gordon and Betty Moore has been very generous to us. We're deeply appreciative of the monies, and we're using it, I believe, to the best of our abilities and to the best intents of the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation.
Excellent work today. Thank you.
Yeah.
You want a picture?
Be great.
See if everybody will come on if they can and give me a big smile. I'll take a picture. One, here's my print screen. There it is. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Oh, that's so fun. This was a really wonderful conversation. Thank you all for joining, participating. This went ways that I wasn't expecting, but I'm really happy that it did. So thank you all so much. I know that we're coming up on time, but before I let you go, I want to make sure that I say that Academy Chats, these types of things, they happen each month, and there are opportunities for input through a number of different venues. That's through the board or committee service, coaching calls, or filling out the survey that I'll be sharing in the chat. And we really appreciate you taking the time. So any thoughts you have, please feel free to share them with us. And then one more thing before I let you go, just so you know, we do have this new, well, somewhat new opportunity for each academy that is a member. You can schedule 2 coaching calls per year with our team. And these can be used for junior academy support or general support as well. I will put in a link in the chat, and you can sign up through that if you're interested. And then also we will be having toolkits on our website. We currently do, and we'll be adding more. So please take a look at our website for toolkits on things like governance and AJS, the science policy one's coming up soon, various different topics that you can use for your academies. Any questions before we call it?
Do you have a real brick and mortar headquarters, or is everything remote?
Well, mostly remote. Phil stores a lot of our AJAS things at his house.
Yeah, there's a logistics center in Ohio.
Yeah.
There's a logistical storage site in Ohio, and there is a brick and mortar mailbox in Kentucky.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
A mailbox. I like it.
A mailbox. I will make the offer, Karen, Mary, Ellen, if I can stay on for a few minutes, if anybody wants more specific information about AJASs and the planning and the operation of AJAS. I'm just happy to do that.
I would like to know a little more about the role of the representative, since I'm about to take that on for Alabama, and I wanted to hear what that entails.
Well, I can stay on and talk if you'd like.
Okay.
I'm going to head out. Good night, everybody. Thanks for a great discussion.
Thanks, Craig.
We have a board meeting, so I'm going to have to hop up too. Thanks so much, though. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Really helpful. Bye-bye.
Same. Bye, all.
Nice to
Great to
see
see everybody.
Hi,
Bye.
Jennifer.
Well, would you like me to turn off the recording?
Unless you want to keep it to say what the role responsibilities are.
Well,
but why not? Unless you have an opinion. Phil.
Bridget, do you want to hand it over to me, and Ellen and I can just talk? Stop the recording.
Okay.